Emily had always loved exploring her grandmother's old house. It was an ancient Victorian structure filled with dusty antiques and creaky wooden floors that seemed to whisper with every step. But nothing fascinated Emily more than the attic, a treasure trove of forgotten items covered in cobwebs and cloaked in mystery. One summer, while visiting her grandmother, Emily decided to explore the attic again. Her curiosity was insatiable, and she couldn't resist the call of those dusty, forgotten relics. As the golden rays of the setting sun filtered through the small attic window, she began rummaging through the boxes. Most of the items were unremarkable: old clothes, faded photographs, and books that smelled of mildew. But as she reached the back corner of the attic, her eyes fell on something peculiar. A doll. It sat on an ornate wooden chair, untouched by dust, as if someone had placed it there recently. The doll was unsettling. Its porcelain face was pale and cracked, and its eyes, a piercing blue, seemed to follow Emily wherever she moved. The doll wore a faded, frilly dress, its once white fabric now yellowed with age. Its hands were small and delicate, but one of the fingers was chipped, revealing something dark beneath the porcelain. Emily felt a chill crawl up her spine, but she couldn't look away. Something about the doll was magnetic, pulling her closer. Against her better judgment, she picked it up. Its body was heavier than she expected, almost as if it were resisting her touch. She noticed a small keyhole in its back, but no key to accompany it. "Creepy little thing," Emily muttered, but she carried it downstairs anyway. Her grandmother, sitting in her favorite armchair in the living room, looked up as Emily entered. Her face immediately went pale when she saw the doll. "Where did you find that?" her grandmother asked, her voice trembling. "In the attic," Emily replied, puzzled. "Why? Is something wrong?" Her grandmother hesitated, her eyes fixed on the doll. "That doll belonged to your great-aunt Lillian. She loved it dearly, but after she passed, we locked it away. It's best if you put it back." Emily frowned. "It's just a doll. What's the big deal?" Her grandmother didn't answer, but the look on her face was enough to send a shiver down Emily's spine. Still, she ignored the warning and brought the doll to her room. She placed it on her nightstand and spent the rest of the evening reading, trying to shake the unease that lingered in the air. That night, Emily's dreams were strange and vivid. She found herself standing in the attic, but it was different. Brighter, cleaner, as if it had been transported back in time. The doll sat on the chair, but this time it was moving. Its head turned slowly to face her, and its mouth, stitched shut in reality, opened wide, revealing rows of sharp, glistening teeth. Emily woke with a start, her heart pounding. The room was dark, but the faint glow of moonlight illuminated the doll on her nightstand. It hadn't moved. Had it? She could have sworn it had been facing a different direction earlier. Shaking her head, she told herself it was just her imagination. The next few days were strange. Emily often heard faint whispers when she was alone in her room, but whenever she tried to locate the source, there was only silence. At night she dreamed of the doll, always in the attic, always with its mouth opening wider and wider. One afternoon, Emily's best friend, Sarah, came over to visit. Emily showed her the doll, laughing nervously about how creepy it was. Sarah agreed, shivering as she examined it. "It feels like it's staring into my soul," Sarah joked, though her voice lacked humor. That night, Sarah stayed over. The girls stayed up late watching movies, trying to distract themselves from the unsettling presence of the doll. But as they were about to fall asleep, they heard a faint scraping sound. "Did you hear that?" Sarah whispered. Emily nodded, her heart racing. The sound was coming from the nightstand. Slowly, Emily reached for her phone and turned on the flashlight. The beam of light landed on the doll, and they both gasped. The doll's head had turned. It was now facing them directly, its blue eyes gleaming in the light. "Emily, this isn't funny," Sarah said, her voice shaking. "I didn't do anything," Emily hissed. Before they could react further, the whispers began. Low and faint at first, then growing louder, filling the room. The girls froze, unable to move as the doll slowly slid off the nightstand and landed upright on the floor with a soft thud. Its stitched mouth twitched, and for the first time it spoke. "Why did you wake me?" Emily and Sarah screamed, bolting out of the room and running downstairs to find Emily's grandmother. When they told her what had happened, the old woman's face turned ashen. I warned you, she said, her voice barely above a whisper. That doll is cursed. Lillian used to say it talked to her, told her side of her